The artificial intelligence use of counterfactual analysis. This is your 10th lecture in the series of PhD Artificial Intelligence 730. This is your Professor Atif Fareed Muhammad. In this lecture, we will explore counterfactual analysis, a powerful technique that allows us to ask what if questions by simulating scenarios that did not occur. Counterfactuals help us understand the impact of interventions by comparing the observed outcomes with those that would have been observed under different conditions. This approach is particularly useful in decision-making processes as it provides insights into a potential consequences of various actions. By integrating these techniques, we can make more informed decisions and predictions grounded in a robust understanding of causal mechanisms. Through practical applications and case studies, we will see how these methods are applied in real-world settings to drive data-informed strategies and solutions. The counterfactual analysis is a powerful technique used to explore what-if scenarios, situations that did not actually happen but could have. Imagine asking what would have happened if a star athlete had never gotten injured. This type of analysis helps us estimate outcomes in alternate realities by using real-world data and statistical methods. For example, if a basketball player tears his ACL and their career declines, counterfactual analysis can estimate how their performance might have progressed if the injury had never occurred. By comparing their actual career trajectory to this hypothetical scenario, analysts can better understand the true impact of the injury. This technique is not just for sports, it is used for medicine, business, and public policy. For instance, doctors might use counterfactual analysis to estimate how a patient's health would have changed if they had received a different treatment. Businesses might explore how profits could have grown if they had launched a product earlier. Counterfactual analysis helps us move beyond what we observe and imagine what could have been, giving us deeper insights into cause and effect. What-if questions allow us to explore hypothetical situations to better understand causality, the relationship between actions and their outcomes. For example, a company might wonder how would our revenue have changed if we had launched our marketing campaign 3 months earlier. By simulating this scenario using past sales data and market trends, the company can estimate the potential impact of their decision. This helps businesses make smarter choices in the future, whether it is adjusting the timing of the product launch or allocating resources more effectively. The power of what-if questions lies in their ability to reveal hidden opportunities and risks. For instance, if a city considers raising public transit fares, policymakers can use counterfactual analysis to predict how ridership and revenue might change. Would fewer people use the transit system? Would the increased revenue offset the loss of riders? By answering these questions, leaders can make data-driven decisions rather than relying on guesswork. This approach turns uncertainty into actionable insights. So again, explores outcomes under hypothetical conditions to understand causality, as mentioned earlier, analyzing how companies' revenue might have changed if the marketing campaign had been launched earlier. I just thought to reiterate this so you know that what-if questions are significantly important. Counterfactuals versus factuals. This typical topic represents two sides of the same coin. What did happen versus what could have happened. Factuals are the real observed outcomes, like the actual sales numbers. After a company raises its prices, counterfactuals, on the other hand, are the hypothetical outcomes, like what sales might have been if the price had stayed the same. Comparing these two scenarios helps us understand the true effects of a decision. For example, if a store raises the prices of a product and sees a drop in sales, was the price hike and causes or were other factors like a new competitor to blame? Counterfactual analysis helps answer this by estimating what sales would have looked like without the price increase. This campaign is essential for making informed decisions. Without counterfactuals, we might misinterpret correlation with causation. For instance, if a company's profit rise after a new CEO takes over, it's tempting to credit the CEO. But what if profits were already trending upward due to the market conditions? By creating the counterfactual scenario estimating profits without the new CEO, we can isolate the CEO's actual impact. This way, businesses and policymakers can avoid jumping to conclusions and instead base their strategies on solid evidence. Counterfactual analysis plays a crucial role in causal inference, the process of determining whether one action directly causes an outcome. For example, if a school introduces a new teaching method and sees improved test scores, was the new method the cause or were other factors involved? By comparing the actual results with the new method to a counterfactual scenario without the new method, educators can isolate the method's true effect. This helps them understand whether the improvement was due to the teaching methods or external influences, like increased study time or easier exams. This approach is widely used in fields like education, medicine, and economics. For instance, doctors might use counterfactual analysis to assess the effectiveness of a new drug. By comparing the health outcomes of patients who took the drug to a simulated group that didn't, they can determine whether a drug truly works. Without counterfactuals, it is easy to confuse correlation with causation. For example, assuming a drug is effective just because patients improved, when in reality their recovery might have been due to other treatments or natural healings. It is a key concept, the potential outcomes. The idea here is central to counterfactual analysis. It refers to the different results that could have occurred under various conditions. For example, when testing a new drug, some patients receive the treatment while others do not. The potential outcome for each patient includes both what happened if they took the drug or what might have happened if they hadn't. By comparing these outcomes across a large group, researchers can estimate the drug's true effect, even if they can't observe both scenarios for the same individual. This concept is especially useful in real-world settings where controlled experiments are not possible. For instance, if a company wants to know whether a leadership training program improves employee performance, they can compare the outcomes of employees who participated in the program to those who didn't, while accounting for other factors like prior experience or job role. Potential outcomes help bridge the gap between what we can observe and what we need to infer, making them cornerstone of causal analysis. The fundamental problem of causal inference is that we can never observe both the actual outcome and the counterfactual outcome for the same individual at the same time. For example, if an employee participates in a training program, we can measure their productivity afterwards, but we will never know how productive they would have been without the training. This makes it challenging to determine the program's true effect because we are always missing a piece of the puzzle. To overcome this, researchers use techniques like randomized experiments or statistical matching to approximate counterfactuals. For instance, if only some employees participated In the training, we can compare their productivity gains to a similar group that didn't participate. While we can't know the exact counterfactuals or each individual, these methods help us estimate the overall effect of the program. This is why causal inference relies on so heavily on careful studies, design, and the analysis. The counterfactuals provide valuable insights into the consequences of actions not taken, helping leaders make better decisions. For example, if a government implements a new policy like tax cut and wants to evaluate its impact, they can compare the actual economics growth to the counterfactual scenario where the tax cut never happened. This comparison reveals whether the policy truly worked or if the other factors like global market trends were responsible for the changes observed. Businesses also use counterfactual analysis to refine their strategies. For instance, a retailer might analyze how sales would have performed if they had kept their stores open later. By simulating their scenarios, they can decide whether extending hours is worth the cost. Counterfactuals turn uncertainty into clarity, permitting decision makers to weigh the potential outcomes of their choices and act with greater confidence. The counterfactual analysis is a game changer for business strategy because it allows companies to simulate the outcomes of decisions they didn't make. For example, a retail company might wonder how customer retention would have improved if they had launched a loyalty program a year earlier. By analyzing past customer behavior and market trends, they can estimate the potential increase in repeat purchases and revenues. This helps businesses identify missed opportunities and refine their strategies for the future, ensuring they make data-driven decisions rather than relying on intuition. Beyond loyalty programs, counterfactuals can guide pricing strategies, product launches, and expansion plans. For instance, a business considering entering a new market can simulate how sales might have performed if they had expanded earlier. This kind of analysis reduces risk by providing a clearer picture of potential outcomes, permitting leaders to allocate resources more effectively and stay ahead of the competitors. In healthcare, counterfactual analysis helps doctors and researchers assess the true effectiveness of treatments by comparing real patient outcomes to hypothetical scenarios. For example, if a new drug is introduced, counterfactuals can estimate how patients might have fared if they had received the standard treatment instead. This is critical for determining whether the new drug is genuinely better or if other factors like improved patients' care are responsible for the results. By comparing survival rates, recovery times, or side effects, medical professionals can make more informed decisions about which treatments to recommend. The counterfactuals also play a role in public health policy. For instance, during a disease breakout, health officials can simulate how infection rates might have changed if a vaccine had been rolled out sooner. This helps them evaluate the impact of their decisions and plans more effective responses in the future. Ultimately, counterfactual analysis in healthcare leads to better patient outcomes and more efficient use of resources. Public policymakers use counterfactual analysis to evaluate the real impact of their decisions by comparing actual results to what could have happened under different conditions. For example, a city might analyze crime rates with and without a community uh, policing programs, to determine whether the program actually reduced crime or if other factors like economic changes were at play. This kind of analysis ensures that policies are evidence based and that taxpayer money is spent on initiatives that truly work. Counterfactuals are especially useful in social programs like education or welfare reforms. If a government introduces a new job training program, they can compare employment rates among participants to a simulated group that didn't participate. This helps policymakers understand the program's true effect and make adjustments to improve its effectiveness. Without counterfactuals, it is easy to misattribute success or failure to wrong causes, leading to inefficient or ineffective policies. Economists rely on these analyses to simulate how economic conditions might change under different policy interventions. For example, they can estimate how GDP growth would have been affected if a stimulus package had been larger or smaller. This helps governments design policies that maximize economic benefits while minimizing unintended consequences like inflation or debt. Counterfactuals are also used to study the impact of major economic events such as trade agreements or tax reforms by comparing actual economic performance to hypothetical scenarios. Policymakers can assess whether their decisions led to growth or stagnation. This approach is invaluable for crafting policies that promote stability and prosperity, as it allows economists to test ideas before they are implemented in the real world. Marketing teams use these analyses to optimize campaigns by comparing real results to what might have happened under different strategies. For example, a company can measure the effect of social media ad campaign by comparing sales during the campaign to a simulated scenario where the ads never ran. If sales increased significantly with the ads, the company can confidently invest more in similar campaigns. If not, they can reallocate their budget to more effective channels. Counterfactuals also help marketers understand customer behavior. For instance, if a brand changes its packaging, they can estimate how sales would have performed if the old design had been kept. This allows businesses to fine tune their marketing efforts, ensuring they resonate with their target audience and deliver the best possible return on investment, also known as ROI. In the education arena, these analyses evaluate impact of interventions like curricula, teaching methods, or technology tools. For example, a school district might assess how students' performance would have changed if the new math curriculum had been introduced earlier. By comparing test scores from schools that adapted the curriculum to those that didn't. Educators can determine whether the change led to real improvements or if other factors like teacher training were responsible. This approach is particularly useful for addressing educational inequalities. If a program aimed at improving literacy rates in underserved communities shows promising results, counterfactual analysis can confirm whether the program itself or external factors like increased funding drove the success. This ensures that resources are directed towards strategies that make a measurable difference in students' learning. Financial analysts use these analyses to simulate how investments or corporate decisions might have played out under different conditions. For example, they can estimate how a company's stock performance would have changed if it had merged with a competitor. This helps investors and executives assess the potential risks and rewards of major decisions such as acquisitions or divestments before committing resources. Counterfactuals are also valuable in risk management. Banks, for instance, can simulate how their portfolios would have performed during market downturn if they had diversified differently. By understanding these hypothetical outcomes, financial institutions can develop strategies to mitigate losses and capitalize on opportunities, making their operations more resilient in an unpredictable market. These analyses improve the interpretability of AI models by explaining why a system made a particular decision. For example, if a loan application is rejected, counterfactuals can show how the applicant's profile would need to change, such as a higher credit score or lower debt, to secure approval. This transparency helps users understand AI decisions and take action steps to improve their outcomes. Beyond explainability, counterfactuals are used to test the fairness and robustness of AI models by simulating how decisions might change under slight variations in input data. Developers can identify and address biases. This ensures the AI systems are both accurate and equitable, building trust among users and stakeholders. One of the biggest challenges in such analysis is the need for high quality data and realistic assumptions. If the data is incomplete or biased, the simulations may not reflect real world conditions accurately. For example, predicting how customers would behave if a product features had been designed differently requires detailed information about their preferences and past behavior. Without this, the counterfactual scenarios may be unreliable. Another challenge is accounting for unobserved variable factors that influences outcomes but are not captured in the data. For instance, counterfactual model might assume that historical trend would continue unchanged, but real-world events like economic shocks or cultural shifts can disrupt these patterns. Researchers might carefully validate their assumptions to ensure their conclusions are trustworthy. These analyses rely on, in reality, these analysis relies heavily on assumptions about how outcomes would change under different conditions. For example, a business might assume that customer spending habits would remain constant if the discount had been offered earlier. However, if external factors like a recession or a competitor's promotion are not accounted for, the results might be or could be misleading. These assumptions must be carefully tested and justified to ensure the analysis is valid. Assumptions also play a role in defining the scope of the analysis. For instance, a healthcare study might assume that patients in a counterfactual scenario would have received the same level of care as those in the real world. If this assumption is incorrect, perhaps because resource constraints would have led to lower quality care, the conclusions could have been flawed. Rigorous testing and sensitivity analysis help researchers identify and address these potential pitfalls. Creating reliable counterfactual simulations require high quality comprehensive data as mentioned earlier. For example, to predict the impact of price discount that was never applied, a company could need detailed historical sales data. It's a continuation of our previous discussion, customer demographics and market trends. Without this information, the counterfactual scenarios may not accurately reflect reality, leading to poor decision making. Data must be representative and unbiased. If the dataset only includes certain customer segments or time periods, the counterfactual results may not apply broadly. For instance, using sales data from a single store to predict the impact of nationwide discounts could lead to inaccurate conclusions. Ensuring data quality and relevance is essential for generating useful counterfactual analysis, providing us the insights. During the COVID-19 pandemic, counterfactual analysis helped public health officials simulate the impact of earlier lockdowns or social distancing measures. For example, researchers estimated how infection rates might have changed if restrictions had been implemented 2 weeks sooner. These simulations provided valuable insights into the effectiveness of different strategies guiding governments in their response efforts. This case study highlights the power of counterfactual in crisis management. By comparing actual infection rates to hypothetical scenarios, policymakers could see how delays in action contributed to the spread of the virus. This kind of analysis is crucial for preparing for future pandemics and ensuring that responses are both timely and effective. These analyses are a powerful tool for evaluating environmental policies. For example, researchers can predict how carbon emissions levels would have changed if a renewable energy initiative had been adopted nationwide. By comparing this to actual emission data, they can assess the policy's potential impact and advocate for more ambitious climate action. This approach also helps policymakers understand the long term consequences of inaction. For instance, counterfactuals can estimate how global temperatures might have risen if certain environmental regulation had not been implemented. This reinforces the urgency of addressing climate change and provides a clearer case of investing in sustainable solutions. The future of counterfactual analysis is bright. Thanks to the advances in AI and data science, machine learning algorithms can now generate more accurate and personalized counterfactual scenarios, such as tailoring medical treatments to individual patients based on their unique health data. This precision allows for better decision making in healthcare, finance, and public policy, as we discussed earlier. As technology continues to evolve, counterfactual analysis will become more and more accessible and powerful. Businesses, governments, and researchers will be able to simulate complex scenarios with greater accuracy, leading to smarter strategies and better outcomes. From personalized recommendations to larger scale policy evaluations, counterfactuals will play an increasingly vital role in shaping our world. Happy learning. See you in the next lecture.